API abuses are the one which is like going to be the most frequent attack, and we need to take some serious steps about the API attack. So API security, I mean, that's what brings us to the next slide, API security. So as we can see in the diagram, I mean, there are client applications, there are backend servers and stuff, data which has been lying in silos, and API is trying to just unlock this data and bring out the potential data. So while it's carrying, communicating between different end systems, we need to ensure that the API security is, because that is the one which is actually carrying the data and stuff, and it's quite crucial to protect your data. Mainly, that is not just when it is carrying sensitive information, it's always crucial to protect your data and your information. So API security should be given in higher importance. And to further introduce about the further tell you about the API security, we have few API attacks like the injection. So while in the college, and maybe even we all are actually different attacks which we have caused through, or maybe man in the middle attack, all this tampering data and all these kinds of attacks. I mean, not just via MuleSoft, by any integration tool or whatever practices you're doing, you need to ensure that the API attacks are API in all the possible ways. You're securing your environment and the API architecture. So how are you going is the next concern. Before going ahead, if you all are having any questions, just note down in the chat section. I'm not seeing the chat section, John, you can just let me.
Yes, Akshata, I'm just looking into it. Yeah, I'll just let you know. Yeah, sure.
And also, if I'm going very fast, let me know. I'll just slow down because that's my usual tendency. Okay. Yeah, this is a security topology which is laid by MuleSoft. Like how are we going to secure our API? So when it comes to MuleSoft security, the first thing which comes into mind is the API manager. The API manager is a component. I mean, we have different components, Exchange, Center, and all these things. API manager is the one which specifically comes into our mind when we are talking about the API security. That kind of to give you an analogy, basically, suppose if you're having a premises, a building or office premises, and then there is a watchman, you can say, at the gate, a gatekeeper. Is what an API gateway is. It will like actually check if your ID is correct or not, if you're having the correct authorization, authentication, access or not. Only then you can enter the premises. Okay, so how the requests are coming. So these are the different clients. You can imagine clients to be like your postman requests, your HTTP calls, basically your calls to the API. So here you can see there is a basic endpoint. It could also be a proxy endpoint, and you can still apply all the security topology to your proxy endpoint as well. So when we're talking about proxy endpoint, what it means, like suppose if you're having an something, some different using different language or maybe tool or something like that, which is basically not a mule based. So to that we can apply a proxy application. We can basically build a proxy, and we can still apply all the by MuleSoft which are given to us by MuleSoft. So yeah, one application, it once there is a request to your application, so it will be like validated by the API gateway level. It will check, it will be doing the operation, like if those policies find the security stuff or not, if it is following this, and only if this thing is validated. Like basically, if your ID is checked by same person who's entering the building, who is supposed to enter the building, so only then your request will be API. Okay, I mean that's the most simplest thing. After this, so what are the different types of policy category? So when we'll see all these things from the Anypoint Manager perspective as well. Just the theory part, because even that's important. And also these things will be on your trivia quiz as well. So yeah, stay alert. So coming to the policy categories, I've been just talking about the security stuff, but security is not the only category of policy which we have. There are several other, like compliance, quality of services, transformation, troubleshooting, monitoring. So when custom is what which we're talking today, and all these other policy levels, right? So if you're saying about the quality of, show you from the Anypoint platform perspective, yeah, API Model Manager. So yeah, okay. If you're going into the policy section, apply a new policy. So you can actually, even if you're having a trial account, you can go and yeah, if you're going into custom, there are a few custom stuff. So these are the security policies which I have like these are the out-of-box policies which are given by MuleSoft. So tokenization, detokenization, and then OAuth authentication, simple authentication, IP blacklisting, whitelisting. Earlier, it used to be blacklist, whitelist, but currently they have newly introduced as allow list and block list due to some comments or something like that. Not sure, but yeah. And then there is JSON validation. These are all of the policies which comes under security category. So the quality, there is rate limiting, spike control, and all. So we can, if we are actually going through all of these policies individually, that will become a different session altogether, which I guess we have covered before. I mean, I think that was for Toronto Meetup or something. That's an altogether session on only each of the individual policies and understanding them together. But we'll just bring the policies which comes under security, quality of services, then troubleshooting. Troubleshooting is mainly which will be helping you to debug any issue, verify stuff. So even if you're doing some, even if you're applying some different other policies, right? I mean, suppose if you can say authentication policy, like some basic authentication or something like that, and you want to what are the values which something is failing even at the policy level or at the Mule application level, you can make use of this message logging policy. I mean, that's how even I debug the policies. Like when you can just apply the logger and you can get to know like what's failing. Okay. Then the transformation, header injection, header removal. Transformation, as the name suggests, like if you want to add something like additional information, like transform your headers, whatever existing headers you're having. Suppose if your request is coming with some predefined set of headers and something like that, you want to add some more headers, or whatever headers you are getting, you want to remove them for the security purpose so that the information it shouldn't be appearing in the logs and stuff. So in that case, you can also remove the headers. So that is basically what comes under transformation. And in compliance, there is client ID enforcement, which is used for like web-based. I mean, if you're for the domain changes, basically, if you're trying to your application from a different, basically a UI calls and all the UI people calls policy. That's what we call it. And you must be having this pre-notion that client ID enforcement is related to security. I mean, that's how we have been using, but no, client ID enforcement is compliance. Compliance, basically, it means that if a person is having a compliance to access a particular environment, like when we are applying policy, we are actually creating a new this thing, and the exchange basically we are just a minute, I'll show you guys. In the exchange. Okay, I can take it as a REST API. So we'll be requesting the access, and then we are selecting the instance. So to which instance do I have? If I'm a developer, so I cannot go and hit the testing instance. So I'm only complied to like, or maybe I'm only allowed to hit this sandbox instance. Okay, so that's how it is different, different instances basically. And that's how security, it's a compliance based policy. And also out of the topic, we were talking about the design center thing, wherein we were saying about the async APIs. So earlier we were not having this option, new async APIs, but currently we can see this option, like what is an API spec fragment, Mule API, and a new async APIs. Right? Just go ahead and try it out sometime. It's quite interesting, and there has to be added as well. To move back here.
Hey, Akshita, it's John. Yeah, I just have a doubt. So we were just looking into that message logging, right? So how exactly does it work? Can you just give me a high level, maybe not so deep, but if we have loggers, which does the normal debugging and structure, right? What is the use of this message logging policy?
Yeah, definitely. Just a minute. I can.
Yeah, sure.
It's actually quite helpful, because suppose if you're applying multiple policies, okay, like suppose currently if I'm having only this thing, I already have created this instance. So we'll also talk about like how to create an guys. For now, just be patient. So if you're going into the policies, if you're going into apply policy, suppose if I'm having multiple policies applying cross origin maybe. Okay, and then I'm just apply. So applying any of the policies is very simple. You can just select multiple policies. Suppose if I'm injecting some header, so I'll just inject this header and I'll see what inject. Suppose if I have to inject something like a token value. Okay, I'm giving some passing some token value. So these are multiple headers. So if I want to see what value is coming, so after you've applied these policies, right, you can right away go to the design, this runtime manager. Where is the runtime? And the application which you have deployed. So you can see in the logs as well. Ki, okay. So you can see in the logs, these have been applied, but what value is the won't be able to see. So for that purpose, we need loggers for policy.
Okay, so this one is specific to
So
yeah.
so,
Okay, got it.
you can see like it's showing that the course policy has been applied and all those things have been applied. But how will you get to know like what values you're passing? So suppose if I want to know what value is being passed, did I have a message logger? So if I want to know what, see, I can give the default configuration and value as like, or if suppose whatever, if I want to bring it from the policy, like after applying the policy, this is not just applicable for also for the mule application stuff as well. So I can give it as vars.token or headers.token, header, right?
Yes, got
I've
it.
added the
So
header
basically, the
injection
things that
policy.
we are not able to capture while the policy is applied, that thing can be applied using this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Got
don't
it.
want to make any changes to the, like, I mean, suppose if your mule application is already developed, deployed, and it is like
Yes.
completely in a safe hands, you don't want to at all. So in that case, but you want to debug the application, you want to find out what is the error coming, why it is failing out. So in that case, you can just add, like we do normally, we just add loggers, so token, and then I
Without
mean
disturbing the mule application. Yeah, got it.
mule application. We can also do it like before calling API, after calling API, and then this is something on the second resource condition. Apply this configuration to all methods and resources, or apply to a specific method and resources. So this is something common which is applicable across all the policies, not just message logging. It is applicable for all the policies. So if I'm doing apply for all API method and resources, it will be applied across all the API methods and resources. But if I want to apply for a particular specific method or resources, I can actually select which method I want to apply it for. Okay, out of this. So currently I just have get method, and even after applying, I can apply for get. And then even in the URI template region, I can just see which get method. Currently, I just have email. Or if I want to apply across all the get and post method, I'll just put a star mark. So that is like a URI reject. View Research Magic can actually see like which all are coming under this thing, which all currently not able to see something which normally we face. But
Okay.
over yeah, if you want to
Yeah, I
apply for
got
a
your point.
particular
Yes.
method only, like and then something like that, like only to this resource type. So even that is possible. Okay.
Yeah,
So
got
current
your point. Yes. Yeah.
and cancel. I'll just remove all of them. So basically all the what we call it out of box policies is what we call them, or default policy. Completely provided with node stuff, and there are around like too many policies which you can see. You can go through all of them. There is also I mean a session which I have actually delivered maybe on this, which is like covering all of these policies in depth, or even the document quite simple and easy. You can just go through it as well. If you want to learn more about policy, something you'll be getting more. And that's quite interesting if you want to. So yeah, these are the different policy categories which we are aware about. And this was the one I was telling you, the resource level policy. If you want to apply a policy, there are suppose several resources, but if you want to apply a policy, particular policy for a particular resource, you can do it via the URI template mapping. Can just apply the policy at the resource level. Then what are the different? We have around like 5 different types of policies. The one which we have seen just now, what we were default policies. Okay, default policies, we also call them as the out of box policies. Second, they are exactly same as the default policies. The only difference is that automated policy API groups. Like, what are API groups now? So if we are coming over here, if you are going step behind, this is the API manager. Okay, so API groups is something new. You can say you can create an API group or for an environment. Okay, so as this is my new account, they are giving actually very helpful. So suppose if you're having different APIs in your organization and you categorize your system API is categorized in one group, your mobile API, web experience API group, which if you're having a group, okay, of system experience APIs, for an example, 10 application, and you want to apply the same policies for 10 applications, okay, then you can just create a particular group for the entire group. So you don't have to go inside every application and do it. Like right now, what I was like we were into this thing. We were into a particular application which I have created, EPAM test POC, and this is the application which I have deployed. Okay, I'm applying the policy. So this is like applying for a particular group. So that was a default policy or a out of box policy. But if I want to apply for multiple applications, in that case, I'll be like, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating that group, API group, and then I'll create a group and apply that policy across the entire API. Okay, but the policies, whatever are available for API group and the single applications, they both remain the same in that. Okay, those are the same which we have seen in the same categories as well. So the custom policies. So inside custom policies, actually this could be more like subcategories of it. Custom policies, online custom policies, and the offline custom policies. Online custom policies, it's mainly like it's managed by the API manager. I mean, the entire management and everything. If you are deploying a new app, and it will be taken care of by the API manager itself. API manager this one. So you're actually doing your custom policies. You're adding the custom policies. And you can actually see like what all custom policies and all will be there and everything. Okay, and if you want to apply those custom policies to a particular application, applied a custom policy to this application, so even that can be done. Okay, so that is an online custom policy. But suppose if you're not having custom policies online, you're not having an API manager subscription or something like that, so in that case there is a separate new procedure to manage an offline policy that is a bit different than how you're doing for the online custom policies. So it's one thing. I mean, the one API manager, second one is you're not managing via API manager, you're doing it via the command line interface and stuff. Okay, so there are several steps. I mean, if we get time, maybe we can just talk about that as well. So in this custom, you can see what are the custom policies you want to apply and stuff. Okay, these are the ones I've published. We'll be creating a completely new policy in the demo and from the scratch and custom policy and stuff. After this, yeah, which we have seen already, and some short description like, I mean, basically what is the work of which policy. Basic authentication, there are two types: simple LDAP policy, client enforcement, we have already seen, to access the client application. Okay, then the CORS-based policy is made from a different web page and domain, then in that case then there are two types: tokenization and the detokenization one. When we were going, we only saw detokenization, we didn't see tokenization. So these are two important ones. Okay, so when it comes to MuleSoft, suppose if information, Okay, I mean credit card related information or any banking information, security and all those numbers. So in that case, you cannot just let your information pass through the policy as like just as a log. You cannot allow the data to be appearing in the logger or something like that. So in that case, you will have to do as a, I mean, you'll be passing the information as a token. You'll be encrypting it and then passing the data, and then it will be like detokenized. So that is the two form, tokenization and detokenization. The reason I didn't see the tokenization there was it is applicable currently for the ITF systems and all only. So that's a different security which comes in, and we also or maybe it's coming for a higher package as titanium subscription or something like that. But it's normally applicable. The tokenization one, as far as I remember, it's applicable for the RTF environment and stuff. The next one being the header injection, header removal policies, which we have already discussed. HTTP caching, which is used for storing to cache some data, metadata and stuff. You can store it, reuse the data for your further purpose. Then there is blacklist, like block list and allow list. You can block a certain particular range of to allow only a particular range of IPs to be accessing your API gateway. Then there is JSON thread protection and the thread protection. I'm not sure where it is. So if you're having largely nested XML JSONs, and if there is a thread that something could be inserted, some malicious data could be added in the middle of this JSON or XML, this thing, nested blocks. So in that, the length of these blocks, you can limit it to some, like nesting will be allowed only up to 5 level or 4 level, 3 level, like that. So that is JSON. Then JWT validation, it's actually token validation is quite interesting, and it's amazing. So you can it's mainly authorization purpose. You'll be needing a separate what we call the access and all the stuff to configure it. It's quite easy. It's nice as well. And the other of them, I mean, the OAuth or open, these type of different validations which you can perform, like authentication, authorization stuff, message logging we have already seen. And then there are rate limiting and spike control. So rate limiting, if there are the number of requests we want to control, the rest of the request will be like actually scrapped. And rate limiting based on SLA tier based, and that will be like premium level, subscription level, gold level, silver level, all those levels or something like that. And then for each level, and suppose if you are in the silver level, so you will be allowed request. If you are in golden level, you are allowing like 100 requests, basically forming different levels. And the whatever request will be sent, if your the 11th request will be like rejected. But what happens in spike control is it's whatever, I mean, excess requests, they will be like queued and they will reprocessed after a certain amount of tokenization we have already spoken about. And then there is XML thread protection, which is similar to like JSON. The multiple nested groups will be like applying security policies. Like suppose if there are nesting is going on for it's continuing for a longer, restricted somewhere. Okay. That completes the entire policy, I mean the generic stuff. So now we'll be only concentrating mainly on the custom policy stuff. So before that, are there any questions which you want me to take up?
Nothing in the chats. I've all asked. If anyone wants to, just unmute yourself and ask questions, please feel free to go forward. But nothing in the chats. Actually, we are good to go, I think. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So
Seems like everyone is
the
understanding
next,
everything. Yeah.
hope so. So the next one being the custom policy. So basically, what is custom policy? So we have seen several out-of-box policies which Mule has provided. But suppose if your organization needs a policy, if you want to develop something of your own or whatever policy existing we have, you want to modify it. Like suppose if I'm having pre-existing client ID enforcement, but I want something more to it other than client ID enforcement. I want to maybe alter my client ID request with that. So in that case, I can customize my own policy or create a new policy. So that is basically what a custom policy is. It's a term, I guess. But when do we want to use a custom policy? that depends on your security, I mean your architect basically. So what you're following, if you want something else to be implemented, I mean not just the simple, I mean not something out of the box. Basically out of box is what we call it for like the default policies, but if you want something new, innovative, but something more to the security or something more you want to add, your use cases. So in that case, you'll have to create your own custom policy, customize your stuff, and then deploy it to like the exchange and then carry forward. Steps involved in designing a custom policy. So in Mule for what we can do is we'll have to develop a policy in the sense we'll have to design. How are we going to design the policy? We'll be doing that in the Anypoint Studio. Then we'll package the policy, package Maven clean install, and then after this we'll be like cleaning the policy, installing all the stuff from the repository. So the repository could be your general Mule repository or any Nexus repository or any repository which you have, or the public exchange repository as well. Okay. Then once everything is done, you have bundled up your policy and then you'll be deploying. So deploying is also very simple. So there are just two commands which we'll be actually using to package the policy. To upload the policy to Exchange, it will be Maven deploy. That's it, nothing else. And as we know, we are using Maven commands, I mean, with Mule, I mean, normally we'll be using Mule Maven plugin. That is a Maven plugin. You cannot like deploy an application to externally to this thing, Cloud Hub. So yeah, we'll have to make sure that we are having the Mule Maven plugin configured in this thing, your pom.xml and stuff. Okay. Once we have published this policy assets and all to the, what we call it, we'll be just pulling it out in the API manager. We'll be creating an API instance and applying the policy to a particular resource. It's like very basic and generic thing, which we'll be seeing in the demo as well. And then the later part, what we is like, it will be a bit more complex. So make sure you're getting through the basic stuff. So it's like, because that is the easiest part. And yeah, feel free to ask me any questions if you guys have. If we're discussing previously as well, what are the prerequisites? So nothing extraordinary we need. Form account, the free trial account is also fine. That's what even I'm using. Anypoint, any latest studio, I mean, any studio basically. And Maven install on your local machine. Most of you guys must not be aware, maybe, because these days, I mean, we are having Mules or Anypoint Studio, which can't build Maven, right? So we don't explicitly do anything to have Maven, but in order to like, you'll have to like actually have a Maven configured in your system. So these are the very simple steps. Just download it and path, okay, to your jar. And this is the most helpful document apart from, I mean, from the Apache Maven itself. So even just try out if your Maven commands are working by echoing them and all. And that should be it. After that, yeah, what are the steps involved? So once you have configured your Maven, your settings.xml is very important. So having your repository thing. So I'll just share with you guys my settings.xml. Hopefully, yeah. So above are my passwords. Sorry. So yeah, this is the repository thing which you have to configure. Okay. So all the steps are also listed on the MuleSoft. You can say. So your profile needs to be active. Okay. And you just make sure that you are adding the repository. Like suppose this is the repository, and there are several blogs as well. If you just click on like what are custom, how you will like you just get this. Okay. Also, let me just bring it up. Yeah. So this is the custom. So this will be the repository. So the ID is repository. Just remember this. The same ID in application as well. So if you're not having the similar, you'll be getting for 401. And I've got so many of them and I spent actually a lot of time resolving them. So username and password, password should be mentioned in the server, because this is the place where we'll be actually deploying the custom policy. Okay. And this is the general repository, Nexus repository. But in case if your client is using some other artifactory, JFrog, Nexus, or anything different, private artifactory basis, okay, just make sure your profile is added over here, okay, and your profile is active basically. Okay, just add these things in your settings.xml, and settings.xml will be like outside your M2 folder or wherever you prefer the key. So we'll just create a custom policy now. So there is only one single command which we'll be using to create a custom, and that is basically this one. Okay, pmaven, archetype. So this is, again, if you want to publish any artifact or download any artifact, we have used this command. What is important is organization ID and the policy will be giving. Okay, so what I have given here is, this is my group ID. Okay, group ID which I've given it as an organization ID, and then the artifact, and then custom policy. Custom policy name I can give it as maybe Calicut. Okay. And then all you need to do is any of your folder wherever you want to create your custom policy basically. So I'll just go over here. I've created several custom policies. I'll just create a new custom policy to which I can give name as meetup. I'll open my terminal for Windows command prompt and all. So what I'll do, I'll just copy paste the entire command which we have. Okay, and this is already having the group ID. So for group ID, I'm sure you guys must be aware from where we got the group ID. So if you go into your access management, and then this is the place where you'll be having your organization ID. This is ID. Okay, so make sure you're having that. So that is the same ID which I have used here. Okay, and then you'll be just generating the project. It is asking you to define. Let me just maximize the screen. It is define the property value for version snapshot. So I'm giving the version as 1.0.
Akshita, sorry
Okay,
to
and now
interfere,
it
but
is,
we'll be sharing these commands with everyone, right? Yeah.
yeah, we'll be sharing them. I'm also about to publish a blog as well, which I've written almost. It's ready. It's not published.
Okay,
So yeah,
sure, sure.
but
No
also I'll be
issues, no
sharing
issues.
at the end of the session. I'll just
All right, sure, Akshita. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
define the property value for policy descriptor. So what you want? This is custom policy for meetups maybe, or any description, whatever you want to give. Okay, policy name. So it could be Calicut meetup custom policy. Now it is asking me if all the information, whatever correct or not, is just verifying. I'll just say yes, and then a custom policy will be created. It is as simple as this, and your custom policy is all set up. Okay, so even you all can just go ahead and try it out. If you're going into the folder, the meetup folder, you can see a project which has been like created, and then this is the policy structure. You can see the folder structure. This is very important. You might find it very similar to like how we have a XML artifact JSON YAML, and then there is source folder which is having main mule, and inside mule there will be a template. Okay, so we'll just import this and we'll see like what are the elements and what are the stuff present. But creating policy was all about just using that one simple command, which is like the pmaven. If you all want, I'll just copy paste it later in the chat section as well, or you all will get this command in the document as well. Nothing to like memorize or remember anything. So these are the different files. So we'll come across the different. Okay. Once it is done, we have created a custom policy. The third step being, we'll import the custom policy in our Anypoint Studio. So all I have to do is import. So this is the we import at the POM level, right? So that's how we'll be importing. And once it is imported, the structure is almost similar to like your this thing, mule thing, but you cannot like drag and drop components and stuff. I mean, we'll just see how we can design. What's wrong with this? Okay, so seeing the important files, template.xml, pom.xml, and then artifact.json and the YAML. So these are the 4 important files which constitute of your custom policies, and we'll be actually playing around all these files as well. So when we are coming into template.xml, so this is the one which is actually responsible for developing, I mean, whatever transformation logic, whatever policy logic you want to add, so that everything will be there in the custom policies template. We'll just discuss more about like how this policy is, what are these components, and whenever you're creating a policy, this is the default structure you'll be getting. I have done nothing, like I haven't done anything like here. The set payload and all, it is all by default which have come. And yeah, that's it. Second one being the Calicut Meetup custom policy YAML. So YAML file is one which will be having all the configurations. So we have seen the different policies, right? Out of box policies. So let over here. So you can say any of the policies. I'll be so while we are creating custom policy, if we're expecting something similar to this, like there is a key value pair, or if in the other policy you might have seen some radio buttons, checkboxes, and all. Similar kind of GUI interface, or maybe some text boxes, fields, or form kind of thing which you want to design for your policy. So basically, policy design, UI configuration, and all, everything is responsible. And YAML file is the one which does that task. So YAML, whatever policy configurations you want to add, you wish to add, like design a radio button, text boxes, key value pair, string, boolean, all this fields, layout, and everything. So that will be done in the Calicut mules, I mean the YAML file. And then there is the pom.xml. Just a minute. So yeah, it will be having all the plugins and stuff, the dependency repository and thing. So Maven plugin and all. So yeah, it is configured over here, and the version is for 3.5.2. So this is coming by default over here. Okay, you don't have to do anything extraordinary, nothing extra. The only thing you have to do is the repository name. So if you remember in a settings.xml, I have told you the repository name was like the repository ID. Make sure that my repository ID is matching. Okay, I had shown you guys over here that this is my having the repo server, and inside server my ID, this is the ID is repository. So I'll just add this thing over here. Okay. Apart from this, there is one more. This is also asking me for a repository ID. So this is one. Okay. Places I have changed. There is one more place. What what I'll be adding. So let me take it from the other. Okay. These are the repositories which I need to add. The Exchange environment URL. Copy paste it from different pom, but I think that shouldn't be. I'll just send you guys as well. The pom.xml. The 3 places we have referred: repository, and the repository, and these all of them, they are pointing to the same repository, which is calling out my username password, which is my Anypoints platform user password. All right. So once this is done, what I'll be doing is we'll just go the terminal where you have. Okay, so this terminal is currently pointing out to the Calicut Meetup custom policy. So I just want to go inside it. I want to go into. Okay. Basically, I'm inside this folder now. We can see we are at the POM level. So steps we have done is we have just generated the Maven archetype command. Second thing is we have imported the custom policy. We have seen the structure of policy, and then we have done some changes to the pom.xml. We have just make sure that the repository ID is matching with the what ID so you're given in the server. Okay. The next step will be packaging the custom policy. So what you will do is clean Maven clean install. So this is actually packaging your custom policy. Once it is packaged, you will publish this custom policy. So it will download all the just because normally suppose it's wrong credentials. So where are the chances? Because I have actually struggled a lot with this. So what can go wrong is if suppose if you have entered a wrong credential in settings.xml, your username password for any point platform is not correct. Okay, over here. This is not correct, you'll be getting 401 authorization error. Or if you're doing it time, the version will be 1.0.0. For the second time, even if you're making the slightest, even if you're adding any small component, if you want to just redeploy the policy, you'll always have to make sure you'll have to do 1.0.1 and then deploy. Maven clean install, Maven deploy. These are the two steps you have to keep in mind. So otherwise we'll be getting 409 exception. Okay. And also make sure settings.xml, I mean, the Maven is configured properly. If your Maven is not configured properly, you'll be getting errors. If your settings.xml is present at a wrong location, you'll be getting errors. If you have not, this ID, repository ID is not matching with the repository ID, which you have over here, okay, then you'll be getting errors. Make sure on these three places, 1, 2, and the last one, 3, all having the same ID. Okay, I mean, it's basically referring the same Exchange repository.
Akshita, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but which screen are you sharing? I'm just seeing your command prompt right now. Is it the same?
No, I was. Is it?
How about others? I guess there is some kind of crash. I think it got stuck or something in
Oh,
between.
I'll just reshare.
Yep, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, you can
Let me
reshare,
know
but
if you're
right now,
able to share, if you're able to see my studio.
right now I can see. Yep, yeah. Can you just? Yeah, it's a bit slow, I guess. Yeah, I think it's a bit slow, but it's fine. Yeah. But all the while I was seeing your command prompt for like around 1 or 2 minutes, last 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay, before that, you could see my studio.
Yeah, before it was there. The way you were editing all those things, I was able to see. But then after you moved to command prompt, right, it was the same screen. I think it got frozen there or
Okay,
something. Yeah.
I can do. Maybe I can just turn off my video then. Yeah,
Yep.
maybe better bandwidth.
Yeah.
So, is my studio visible?
Yes, it's visible. It's visible now. Yeah.
Cool. Where was I? Yeah. So, yeah, the repository thing. It should be present at the three places. And now prompt. So yeah, if you see build success, the policy has been like deployed. So now let's go back to our Exchange, refresh this things. So now we can see Calicut MuleSoft Meetup policy. It's in Exchange. Okay. So once it is in Exchange, what are the next steps? We'll be like, we can share the policy. We can do all the stuff that we have been doing with the other assets which we publish to Exchange. Once an asset is published to Exchange, we'll be going this thing, API Manager. API manager. I have already done this thing for one. So you are just managing an API, you're just managing the instance. Policy is different and your application is different. So application is the one which is like actually having your core, your implementation logic, your process system API layer, and policy it is something which will be like coming on the top of your application and it will be getting applied to your application, and that is the part which will be executed before your application executes. So just remember this diagram thing where what we have seen. Okay, so this is our backend API, which is our application. We are applying at this level. So policy is something like a watchman, you can say, who's going to ask like if this thing is like, if we are having access, if this thing is correct, if everything is like going on smoothly, only then allow the API calls to reach over. Suppose if I'm sending request to this thing, like if I'm hitting a request to an API, okay, this API which is like this application EPAM test POC. Okay, first it will be going to the policies which I've applied on the API manager, and then it will be further going into the backend thing. So, yeah. So what API do you want to manage? So maybe I have just one API, which is like EPAM test POC. So it's like, I'll just show you this application. It's a very basic this thing what I've an API, which is having just one endpoint. See, this is an email endpoint which we are getting, and this is having a simple display name, body, nothing extraordinary. So on this, we'll be just selecting the asset type, and then API. I mean, just if you select this thing, right, the policy name, everything will be coming on its own. You don't have to do anything explicitly. And this is the one which I was telling you. It could be either basic endpoint, the application, or if it is a new non-mule application, to keep your application secure and you want to add some proxy layer between it, then you can apply with the endpoint with proxy. So it's a mule application and basic endpoint. Go ahead and create save. Okay. So it has created an EPAM and then you get an API auto discovery ID. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just adding this auto discovery ID to my application I want to apply this policy to. So I'll be applying this policy to my EPAM test POC application. Okay, inside this is my application. Okay, that's the reason you're able to see all these elements. If you're talking about a custom policy, wherein I just have .xml, so you won't be able to see message flow and template and everything. Like if you want, you can drag and drop. You can see that, but that won't be of any use because the implementation logic and everything will be confined to only. Okay, that's wrong. Okay. So it will be only something between this thing, policy, proxy. I mean, whatever logic you want to implement and everything. So yeah, got the auto discovery ID. You can just go ahead, create edit, and you can add the auto discovery ID over here. So your instance will be like activated. So currently we are not using that instance because we have already created a new different instance, which is already active. The EPAM test and the auto discovery ID, which you see 1919, I've already added it over here. Okay. So this is the thing. And once you have added the policy, the next, I mean, once you have the API instance is what we call it. So basically what is an API instance? So suppose if you're deploying an application manager and you're applying these policies in the API manager. So how will your runtime manager know, or basically how will your application know what are the policies which have been applied and something like that? So there is some link which is something, some number, some link basically. That is an API auto discovery ID, which actually links the application which is like in the runtime manager and the API manager. So it is something communicating, basically a same common ID, which will be there, which will be linking your application. So if you go into the runtime manager, okay. Hello, am I audible, right?
Audible. What happened?
So
Any issues?
nothing.
Yeah.
No, I just thought maybe
No,
because there
you're
was
audible.
complete silence, right? So
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
you're
see
audible. Yes, yeah.
this 919 174, so it is the same ID which we have over here. So that is how a runtime manager gets to know what I mean ID, I mean what instance it has been linked to. So this is the instance, and whatever things we are adding over here, the alerts, contract, policy, and everything will be application. So this is something we're doing for a particular application. Suppose if you're having 10 or 20 application, and if you want to do the same thing again and again on the repeat mode for all the applications. So in that case, what you can do, you can just create a group, API group, and apply the same policies for all of them, automated policies. So now go thing. I'm not able to open this thing. I need to be patient maybe. So if you're just going into the custom policy, I can just select which I've recently added and then configure policy. So if you see, there is nothing that I have added. It is simple plain policy. So I'll just click on this thing, simple policy. And then if you go into the, you will be seeing that the policy added, or I mean, just refresh the logs and you can see all the details about the policy. So yeah, unapplied calls policy, custom policy, see, head injection policy, yeah, applied, sorry, custom notes of policy. So that is a very simple one. Let's see. Hello world. Hello world is a basic response which we got. We haven't done any coding changes or anything as of now to the custom policy in the template. If you see over here, it is just a simple hello world which we are printing out. Okay. So this was all about the basic stuff, policies. I mean, the very easy part. Now going forward, we'll be just looking and deep diving into the complex stuff. This is something which is like actually easily available on all the blogs and stuff, and you can go ahead and configure. We haven't done much of thing. We have just what we can say, run a command, Maven archetype, and then imported policy in the studio. Then we have done what we call it, and then deploy, and then just imported the policies published to Exchange. We have imported the policy in the applied the custom policy. That's all. And these are all steps which are confined to only online custom policy. We are not at all talking about the policy because that involves a different set of stuff. Okay. So once we are done with this, once we're done with the procedure of how to apply a custom policy, video on. No, that's fine. Sorry. So we have seen the prerequisites, we have seen what are the steps involved, and we have all completed all of these steps. So we have done with the basic demo. So now what's next is the other part. So what are the file configurations and stuff? So when we come to this thing, a custom policy. So we have already discussed about the files as well. Okay. So files, I'll just close this thing because that is not needed. The policy which I have actually designed for this demo purpose will actually refer to that. So the main one would be like the template.xml. Format XML which we have seen. So it will be having all
Akshita, are you there? Are you guys able to hear Akshita? Guys, can you want to just unmute and just confirm?
No.
Yep. Yeah, I think we lost her or something. Yeah, let me check. We're not able to hear you if you're speaking something. Guys, let's just give her a minute. Maybe some connections or something. Yeah.
am I audible now?
We just lost you for a minute or something. Yeah. Akshita? Yes. Are you able to hear me right now? I think I guess I
Yes.
can hear you.
Yes, I
Yep,
can hear
yep.
you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
No worries.
until when did you guys? I was just started discussing about. I revised everything what we've gone through, and started with.
Yes. You were just starting with the file configuration. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so we have already seen what are the different file configuration. I'll just, and when if you feel that my network is lost or something, just
Yeah, sure.
Or just call it. Yeah. So
Yeah, definitely.
important types of file basically. So the first one being pom.xml. Okay, as we important things in POM is like the repository ID should be matching to what it is there in the settings.xml. So basically, repository is the one, the server ID. It should be same across all, or whatever repository you're using, it should be same. Okay, if you have plugins, Mule Maven plugin comes by default. You need it because it's asset to the cloud exchange and stuff. So we're needing that. And goals you want to achieve and everything, the distribution management, this is something default basic, you have to keep them, and just make sure your repository ID is matching again. The next one is the Mule artifact JSON. It exists for Mule Maven plugin. Okay, I haven't added anything over here, it's just basic. We also have this thing in the Mule application, so nothing we want to do with that. YAML file, custom policy YAML file, which will be like this one. Okay, so this is the one in which actually we'll be like deep diving into it later. But for now, just understand this, that this is the one which will be having all the configuration related to your UI thing in the policy. So this policy, right? So there is nothing that we have done extra. It's just simple basic policy. It does not have any configuration. But definitely this is not the way it's going to work. You will be needing some, I mean, if you're adding something, you'll be definitely needing some parameters or some check boxes, radio buttons, text boxes, or anything. I mean, to select something or do some operations like we have for any other policy. If we'll see in the this policy, client ID enforcement, we are having this thing. Which one we are selecting, HTTP base or custom base? Here we are selecting a text. Here again we are having a radio button. So similarly, UI configuration you can achieve in your custom policy as well. How we are going to do it, we'll just see that in some time. Thing is, so however we're doing the UI configuration stuff, those configuration detail will be adding in the YAML file. Okay. The next one being template.xml, which we have already seen. The main whatever we are adding. So this is quite see the simple one. Yeah. So the configuration XML, whatever we're adding. Currently we just have hello world over here, and this is executed in the policy. But if you want to own complex transformation, you can definitely add over here. Okay, this is the place where you're, I mean, if you're someone who XML export, then you can just go ahead and type in XML, but I'm not. So what normally I do is a logger. So I'll just click and add a logger over here. I'll go to the XML. I'll copy paste this XML thing. So this is default, I mean, how you are going to do it. And you can just add it over here. And make sure you're commenting out this flow. It's not working. Leave it. I'm just deleting it. Okay. So yeah, this is how I'll be adding a new component, and whatever new component you're adding, suppose after new component, okay, if I want to again redeploy, I've done some to my custom policy. If I'm trying to redeploy this application, okay, Maven deploy. So now let's see what's happening. So definitely I'll be getting an error, and that's important. So what is the error is, which I have told you, and there is a conflict because this version, this is on the version of what we call it. Okay, not this one. So if you are going into the policy, right, which policy it was, Calicut meetup. So 1.0.0 and sorry, 1.0 deployed on the exchange, and it's already there in the asset, and I'm still again trying to deploy the same application, and that's it. Okay, So in order to be successful, I mean to redeploy again, what I need to do is just change the number to 1.0.1 and do this deploy thing. And that's how it will be. Any small change or any changes to your policy, if you're trying to deploy it, make sure you're always changing the number, okay, of this thing. Only then it will be redeployed. So that is a very important thing, and it's a, so you can say, because once you start developing policy and constantly if you're working with it, you will definitely, like whenever you're publishing a policy and publish. The second thing comes is the testing the policy. Like cannot add debuggers or anything like that in the policy level. In order to test the policy, what you have to do is deploy the policy, add a few loggers over here. Like I've shown you, I've added a logger, right? So I want to check like how a policy, so you can just add a logger message, or you can add some variables and print those variables, deploy the policy, and then those your runtime manager, or you can add some loggers and all stuff to check how the policy has been this thing working out. So that is one of the important thing. You cannot test your policies Anypoint Studio, like we deploy, like we run our mule application and test our thing, right? So that thing can be done. Okay. So these are the 4 important file contents. After that comes the XML structure. So, I mean, we have just been seeing how the, so let us just open one of the simple XML structure. So this is exactly same as what we have over here. So if you see the first part, which is like the HTTP source, okay, let's compare it out. So HTTP source is the one which is like the, you can say it is the first element or something. The first would be like the HTTP proxy policy, okay, and then the HTTP. So HTTP proxy policy is, we can say it is the custom policy. So this indicates something like a start of custom policy. Important element would be source. So we could either be having a source or we could be having operations. So just remember these terms because I mean, yeah, this is more theoretical. Yeah. Now there is source and there is second one is like called as operation. So currently we are using source over here. So suppose if you're having an HTTP, if your mule application is listener base, so you will be using HTTP source. And suppose if you want to go ahead with like HTTP requester, like if you're having a mule application which is initially having a list requester, so if you want to add some data to the requester call as well via the same custom policy, then you'll be adding HTTP policy operation. We'll see that later in the upcoming slides. Okay, so that is the second element which is important. The third element is HTTP policy execute next. So this is the one which acts as a controller. Okay, so whatever is implemented over here, this fragment before HTTP policy execute next, so will be what we can say will be implemented before the policy is being called. So if I'm over here, whatever is implemented in this section, okay, whatever logic I'm adding in this will be implemented before we are calling the mule application, and whatever execute next is called after this we'll be calling the policy, I mean the application, sorry. So first request to the API gateway, the policy, and the policy is being called. So whatever implementation logic I've added over here will be executed. Once the statement is coming, I mean execute will be called. After MuleFlow is completed, like executing, whatever is there over here in the fifth part will be called and the policy will be, I mean the entire thing will be terminated. If you don't want to call your MuleFlow at all, like suppose if I want to manage, if some authentication stuff, okay, is failing basically. So in that case, I don't want to call my mule application at all. I'll completely avoid this. I just remove this execute next thing. So suppose if I have like this thing, I'm just adding some if else logic, like over here. If this is present, then do this operation. I mean, if the authentication, if it is authenticated, authentication is equal to true, then do this logic and call the mule flow. Else flow. Like this we can do in the choice, using the choice operation as well. Okay, and in the else flow, I would be calling the HTTP execute thing. I'll be just having set payload or something, because I don't want to call the mule flow itself, because I don't want it to execute because the authentication has failed. I hope this is not confusing, but if it is, just let me know. If this is, I mean, if you're not able to understand this thing, because there is more complex order of execution. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're audible. Yeah.
Okay. You're able to get it, right?
Yes. Yeah. I was just waiting for anyone else to just unmute, but I think seems like everyone is understanding. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So this is like how what is the XML structure of the policy. So this is a very basic structure. The next coming up I was actually talking about. Currently, we were just seeing about one custom policy. But suppose what if the policies, like there's a policy A, which is like checking some header injection or something, and this is client ID enforcement. Okay, so both of these policies, you have designed both these policies A, policy B, and you have deployed this policy, published this policies to Exchange. You have as well. Okay, so as we see, this is the basic XML block. Okay, XML block, policy source, execute next, and then A1, B1, B2, and all. So how are we doing? I mean, to relate it with the policy, this is how the block would be, right? So always you can consider execute next as a statement, which is like, which will be like actually determining the order. If you don't want the mule application to be called, or if you want whatever elements to be called before policy, before the mule application is called and after mule application is called, you will be using the execute next thing. So in this case, policy A and policy B, and then there is a mule flow. So how do you think will execution? Maybe if you all just want to try it on in the chat section, because this is getting only one-sided session, I think. So how you think will be the policy called? What will be the first element which will be called? I mean, which part? You can just write it A2, B1, B2, or flow, you can take it as F1 maybe. So any idea how it will be called? Anyone would like to try?
Pupendra says A1. Yeah. Most of them are saying A1. Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely A1 would be called. After A1,
A1,
what
B1.
would be called? Okay, and after that?
A1, B1, A2, B2. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you're close. So what will happen is first A1 will be executed because this is the first policy, and whatever part is there before the execute next will be called first. Then B1 would be called, and at this point, okay, and then it will be coming to this point. Then the flow will, which is like flow mule application basically, flow one. Okay, after that, whenever it is coming back to the policy, it executes in the lower order. A1, B1, B2, A2. Policy is having the lower order will be executed first. All right. So if you have some transformation logic or something, then make sure you're doing it accordingly. Suppose if you want something to be implemented before this thing executes, then you can add it into this section. If there is some transformation logger or anything, whatever variables you want to set or something like that. So make sure that is executed. So this is the order: B1, flow, B2, A2. So while coming back, it is going in the reverse order for after policy execute next, A1, B1, B2. Okay. So we can actually control the order of execution with the help of execute next. Okay.
All right.
I hope this, because there are more complex things which is coming up, which will be like actually blowing mind, because they did mine as well. So yeah, suppose if this is the case, like for the how do we avoid the order of execution of the flow? So the choice one which I was telling you. So there is an expression that if this header is equal to some value, when this condition is not being satisfied, I mean this condition is being satisfied. Okay, something is equal to some value. Okay, my header, something is coming in my header, and if this is equal to this, which means my policy condition has been satisfied. In that case, I want my mule application to be called. So this thing indicates that my mule application will be called. Okay, and if this thing is not satisfied, in that case, what it will be? It will be like otherwise. I just want a logger to be printed that avoid flow execution. And avoid flow execution, how will it be avoided? Because I'm not adding this next. Is
Uh,
this easy?
yeah,
No.
Akshita, yeah, yes. Okay. Yeah, one more thing is we have a question. So Aditya asks, after A1, why B1 is called and not A2?
Okay. A2, yeah, right. So before policy execute next, whatever thing is there before policy execute next will be called first. Because I mean, what is this policy execute next indicates is it is making sure that you're calling the mule application flow. So these two policies, you can imagine them as like suppose if you're coming over here in the API manager, they are custom policies. Okay, so these are the two policies which I have added, and imagine that currently client ID info policy A1, this is policy A2. So first what we are doing, we'll be implementing this policy, we'll be going to the flow part. So when we are saying about implementing the structure of the policy, so whatever part I'm adding in this block, right, this block before policy execute next, executed first before the whenever the control comes over here at the HTTP next statement, that we are calling the mule flow. So what is mule flow? So in this case, just a minute. Okay, so this is the policy which I have applied. Okay, and this I'm applying to a mule application. So this is a test POC application which I'm application. So after this point, at this point, policy execute next, it will be coming to the mule application to which I'm applying the policy. So at this point, it will be coming to the listener. It will be executing whatever thing I'm adding in the transform logic. Okay. So that is actually the controller. So even when we're coming over here, so the whatever thing is there before executed first, because pehle ye do, I mean, even in general, if you're applying two policies, right, in the API manager, so these policies will be implemented first, and then we'll be then the application response. I mean, control will be going to the mule application. We have seen over here as well in this diagram. Just remember this diagram. So first, the API gateway policy will be implemented. This condition is satisfied, only then we'll be going it out to the request will be going. Cool.
Hope that's clear to you, Aditya. If there is anything, you can very well, I've given you the presenter
Yeah.
access. You can very well unmute and just talk to Akshita to clear
Yes,
it more.
definitely. It will be fun actually. So yeah, if you want to avoid certain things, I mean, if you want to add some choice logger, and if you want to avoid the mule application from being executed, so in that case, you can add a choice logger, and HTTP is always there to help you avoid the execution. Okay. So moving next, the outbound policies. So suppose if there is like, how can I show? You can just take it over here. Suppose there is HTTP listener. Okay, we have this thing as well. We don't need this. So where there is an HTTP listener, there is a I mean, transform message, and then there is a requester. At this level, at this requester level, I want to add some headers over here. Okay, I want to add a custom policy to this request as well. So I have already added one custom policy which is applied to this listener. Okay, and whatever I'm adding to the custom policy, it will be applied at this listener level. But in that same policy, which is applied to this application, I want to extend that policy to this request component. Like this is a request component which is calling some different application, different maybe you can say server, or maybe different in system, data system, whatever it is. So I want to just add it, extend the functionality basically to this as well. So how it can be done? So that is when, right, there are two components. One is source and the other is operation. So that is when the operation block comes into picture. So yeah, just a minute. We have this which indicates that it is the start of the policy and stuff. So similar to source block over here. Okay, instead of source, or you can have this source. Okay, and then you can also have one we call like as an operation. The operation block, whatever you're doing, like whatever execution you're doing. So that will be basically, it will be referring to the HTTP request. You can see policies can be applied to the HTTP request within a flow as well. The capability enables to inject or any other information, whatever additional information you want to add to the HTTP request, basically that can be added. Okay, and this is the block, HTTP policy operation block. Add all this information. This is just theoretical stuff, but it's very important, you can say. So again, the order of execution. This is not to scare you, just it's easy if we understand it well. Let's keep our basics simple. So source is the source block. Okay, here we are having two, each of them policy A, policy B. Here we are having source block. Okay, and each of this source block is having execute next. Okay, remember source block is the one which is executed first, and that is related to something to listener. Operation block is related to HTTP requester. Each of this block is having execute next statement. All right, we have always seen that when we are talking about this thing, execute. So in the source block, it will be like A1, B1, B2, A2. But that is exactly opposite what happens in the operation block. It will be like A3, B3, A4, B4. Okay. So now what we have to see is how will be the order of execution when we have a flow. It is having a listener and a requester. So from a mule perspective, flow, and we are having this operation block, like we have seen, and there are policies. Okay, so I know this is a bit tricky, but yeah, it's easy actually if you like get the concepts clear. And when you, even if you're not getting the concepts clear, that's completely fine. Whenever you'll be developing a policy, just add the blocks, add the stuff as per your convenience, put stuff and just print the loggers, and you'll get to know. So it's not like something rocket science that you have to actually remember it. Just you can do it actually by trial and error as well. But these are some concepts. If you know them, it will be really helpful. If you don't, that's completely fine. But that's interesting as well. And if you're having doubts, do ask. Yeah. So these are the two blocks, and then there is a poly. There is this thing, like we have seen. There is a HTTP. This is how the flow will be a listener, and there will be a requester. So I'm applying stuff. This is the operation. So whatever will be there in the operation will be, and I'm calling the requester block. So any guesses like what we can say? How will be the order of execution? Yes, and this is the flow. It's having F1, F2. So you all can enter in the chat section that how will be the order of execution in terms of A1, B1, A2, B2, and all these things. Or if anyone, I mean, if you get this, you can get anything.
We have Aditya answered in the chats. Aditya says it's A1, B1 flow, A3, B3. Yeah, if you can just see that. Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute. Let me open this thing. You can just read out.
It's
Yes,
A1, B1, flow, A3, B3, requester, then flow, A4, B4, A2, B2.
Okay.
That's what Aditya says.
That's actually correct. See, A1, B1, flow, A3, B3, then the requester, B4, A4, and then we'll be coming back to this thing. So let me just type this thing in the chat section so we can actually compare it out as well. So if you're coming back here, yeah. So it will be first A1, B1. Okay. And this is why we are doing the first thing. Whatever will be there in the source block, right? A1, B1 and stuff, it will be executed first. Okay. And as source block, whatever it is there, it will be executed only after the entire flow has completed execution. But we are not completing the entire flow. Before that entire flow executes, we still have a listener in between. Executed for the listener thing will be A3 and B3. Okay. And about the operation, यहाँ पे कैसे होता है in the source block, it will be going in the opposite order because we are winding up the policies, right? So B2 will be done first, then A2. But yeah, it's not like that. It will be like A3, B3, A4. Okay. Middle will be having this HTTP execute next, which means that the requester flow is getting executed. And once this is done, we are winding up. So it will be B2, A2. Okay. First, all the elements before the policy executes. Policy execution part before calling out. Policy execution part after calling out the HTTP requester. And the policy termination in the lower order. Is this clear? Or anyone is having any doubt? This is quite simple, but thoda time lagega, thoda tricky hai. You can read the Mule documentation. They're providing excellent information. I mean, better than what? Yeah, this is the same exact thing what happened. They have actually had. I was actually reading this in the morning because it was quite interesting. Yeah, it actually when you're implementing these things out. So I hope this is clear. Related to order of execution. Okay,
Seems like we are good to go, Akshita. Yes.
Yeah, cool. So what time 12 already? So the next thing is the error handling. Just like the way we have error handling for a Mule application, similarly we have error handling for policy as well. So Mule for policies, I mean, they can handle the errors thrown by policies. They can also handle the other Mule application and other policies. All right. So for the policy, there are two main elements which are used to execute, I mean, to control the order of the first one being the try, and the second one is the error handler element. Okay. So we'll see how do we execute. It's a very simple thing, nothing much. So this is how it is. So again, we are having this order of execution things as well. So we'll consider different scenarios and how we are handling. So this is the policy P, which is having, P and the flow F2 is the policy error handler. FEH is the flow error handler. Okay. So don't get confused. Policy is completely a custom policy. Flow is a Mule application, which we are having. So what if we are getting so there are three kinds. Raises error, P1 raises error, and the flow error handler propagate. So F1 raises an error. Suppose if there is a error at this point. So what do you think? What all elements or what all block will be executed? Any idea? Anyone? Anyone would or yourself and out maybe. So, or if not, I'll just. If there is an error at the F1 level, okay, so it means that P1 is already executed, because if it is coming to flow, which means the P1 has been executed. So P1 will be executed, F1 will be executed. If there is an error, it won't be going ahead. In case FEH, flow error handler, will be taking care of the error. It will be handling the error. PH. No, I mean, sorry, P2. After this, it will be executing because this has been taken care by the flow error handler, and then it will be P2. The P2, whatever is the next part, will be executed. Hello. Okay. Any queries?
Nothing so far. Yep.
Okay. So the second scenario is if P1 raises an error. So what if this one itself is raising an error? So this has been executed, and then if this is raising an error, then definitely it won't be going to P2. It will be going to PEH, like this policy error handler. Okay, the policy is the policy one. I mean the policy, and in this section. So after that, going next to, it won't be going and executing your flow. It will be directly seeing all the errors in the log, the runtime manager, and then it will be handled by policy error handlers, whatever thing. Okay. And the third point is, what if the flows error handler propagates error? What was that? FEH, no? Yeah. If you error, like if it is over here. So if it is in the flow and if it is giving P1 is already executed, F1 is also already executed, and then it is in the FEH and then policy error handler. Okay, because that is propagating an error backwards. So these are the different error handling things, but nothing I mean extraordinary, because there are you need to consider, that is the error handler and also the try element. All right. That's more about the, so just revise him. The order of execution, we have seen to different types of policies. We have seen the outbound policies, the HTTP requester. I guess someone is not on mute. Maybe I can just. Then there is an error handler, error handling thing, which is having two elements, try and the error handling element. We have seen the policy execution in this case as well. And different. And then the next thing is the message propagation. So suppose I'll just move back to the application. So we know, like, okay.
Actually, one query I have before
Yes.
going to. Well, we have a chance, right? I mean, for if I take an example that we have experience layer and process layer, and for both of these layers, I'm applying this policy. Suppose, well, first experience layer got cleared, but in the process layer, if I get an error out, so how we are going to handle it, and what would be the process of the flow?
So it depends what you're adding in the error handler. Just like the way I mean, if how do you want to handle it on error? I mean, like we have seen over here, we have on error continue thing. So if you want to continue, I mean, if you want positive response, plug the policy error handler, and then if you want to go ahead, but if it is at the policy, want to ignore it out, you can ignore. I mean, just and then you can be going ahead, or if it is as a blocker, basically it will be erroring out. It won't be giving you errors, but it won't be going ahead for the next system layer or something.
System layer, as per the flow, as the experience layer passes out, then the flow executes and then go to the process layer, or it's only the policies that the flow executes?
No, I mean, we this thing, what is the hierarchy or maybe sequence. So firstly, you're talking about the experience layer, experience API, which is having a policy applied. Okay, this is for experience API, normally it will be CORS policy. This is a CORS policy we have applied. So the thing would be like P1 is executed. Then suppose if you're getting an error at the policy level, we have seen over here. So if policy is raising an error, then what happens is P1 would be executed, and then the flow. It will actually, if you see over here, it is not going to the flow. It is after P1. It is to the. If policy is having some errors, then it will be going to the policy error handler. The flow won't be executed. Flow won't be executed in the experience API layer. Certainly, it won't be going to the next API layer. I mean, the process API layer. This terminated there. It's at the policy level.
Okay, but for the second layer, process layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So the error is on process layer. So it does means that the policy as well as flow will be executed at the experience layer, but in the second layer, the process layer,
it will be failed.
It will be failed.
Failed, yeah.
So how it? I mean,
so it will be handled at the process APIs policy level. I mean, suppose this is a process API, so it will be handled at the process API's policy level. Whatever error you want to do, whatever message you want to pass.
Okay. Fine.
Okay. Yeah. Where were we? Yeah. So the next thing being the message propagation. So suppose if you have having some transformation logic or variables, whichever you're setting. So if you want to propagate these messages, okay, like we have it over here. Propagate message transformation is true, and this is the source block. So propagate message transformation in the sense like whatever message. So here I have added this set execution. So this is something if like in the beginning itself when I was hitting the postman, so you guys have seen that we had got this message. So message, this behaves differently for source policy and the operation policy, and the one which is like this one policy operation. I don't have operation over here, I just have source. So whatever thing, if I'm applying, which means message transformation in the sense the outcome should be my message setting over here. I don't want my application as outcome, I just want my policies stuff to be displayed as a logger and stuff. So in that case I'll be over here. Okay, so in that case I've added propagate message transformation is equal to true, and this thing I've added to the source. So whatever in case of source, whatever thing I'm adding after execute next would be printed, okay, as a logger. And in case of transfer thing I'm adding before, like suppose if there is EPAM test POC, okay, there is a template.xml. Yeah, there is an operation transform, and then there is also this thing, what we call it as HTTP execute next. So as we know, HTTP execute next is used to control the mule flow. So in case of source, if I'm adding something after HTTP execute next, this will be printed out as a logger. Okay, I mean, and in terms of this thing, HTTP operation, whatever I'm adding before this thing, payload would be printed out. Before HTTP execute next will be printed out. So yeah, this is what it's HTTP source tag, the attribute set in order to transform the messages, okay, to transform messages to the mule flow or variables or anything. So we'll have to add this propagate message transformation is equal to true. Okay, any modification to the mule message made after HTTP policy execute next will continue to propagate throughout the rest of the mule processing chain. So the one which I have added over here, basically execute next set payload, and this is after HTTP execute next. So that will continue processing flow or the event. Okay, and this is in case of source policies, the source tag. But when we are talking about the operation tag, so for that it exactly opposite direction. So whatever modifications are made before the execute next element, they are propagated first. Okay, and the one which is they are not propagated. Propagation in terms of mule flow. Okay, that's, I don't know if you all are having any questions, you all can just come up. After this, the policies UI configuration. So yeah, we have seen like how the UI is, the policies UI is like client ID, client seek. I have added key value pair, I've added scopes, I've added just headers and stuff. We can see in the demo how it will be working out, functioning out. So for now, I've just added this screen as an example. So how do we configure? What are the different parameters type we have? We have text boxes, radio button, checkbox. This one is like a text box. This is like the key value pair. These are the radio button, and then okay, and yeah, what are the additional configuration? We can add it as string, expression, boolean, integer, radio, key value pair. Out of all these things, key value pair is the most complex one, because that is something you can iterate the key value pair and you can just map the key value. You can add some transformation logics and stuff. And I'll just show you in my application how I have done that. So yeah, for now, just remember that these are the parameter type, 3 of them, and then these are the additional configurations which we can have. After that, we can be having configuration file. So basically, if you're coming to this application, let's just close all of them. So yeah, this is the EPAM policy YAML which I've seen. So this is the basic configuration files. Okay, and this is the first one. this is coming as a key value pair. This is the key and this is the value. So there are you can add and what are the different information we have, what are the different properties we need to add for a particular element. So for each of them, this is for key ID, I'm having these set of property. For scopes, scope is basically like you can say it is a string, a text. So for that as well, I'm adding all the properties. These are the exposed header, which is like a boolean. Then there is a radio option, there is an integer. I've these things and they are like each separate entity. So for each entity, you will be having all these different values. So we are having property name. What is the property name? Then what is the property name? Basically, what name will be visible in the UI configuration description. For that, what is the type? Type could be string or integer, boolean, whatever you want. If you want to give some default value, so default value, which means it will be all policy level. If it is containing some sensitive information, which means like it will be like password thing, which will be encrypted, star mark, asterisk mark. If you want to allow multiple values in that case. So all these things, they are all like optional values, obviously. You can have all of them or you cannot have. So that's completely up to you. So yeah, let's just go through each one of them. Yeah, this is the first one, key ID. I've added the default values, key ID 1, key ID. Then I've added some scopes. Okay. So if we just go inside this policy, apply a new policy, custom. John, are we out of time? I'm sorry. Not much.
Fine, yeah, it's fine. Maybe you can wind it up. Yeah, no problem. You can take your time and wind it up. No problem.
Okay, so this is the key ID, client ID, and key ID. Okay, the list of scopes, whatever scope you want to add, and like anything, you can just add it as a string and comma separated scopes. You can post headers. You can add some radio buttons. Okay, the value for which I have added some. I mean, if you want to do some integer check, this is obviously a demo which I've created, which is having this random stuff. So the exposed header, which I'm having the Boolean value, which could be true or false. Okay. And then the radio name, HTTP authentication header, and then there is an integer check. I mean, integer ID should be lying between all of these. So I've just added as a flow reference or the UI reference logic only for key ID. So maybe I can just show you that, which I have over here. Okay, the key ID and the key value pair. So that thing, I have variable as key ID. So now you will be asking like, what are these three things? So suppose if you want to access any of them, I mean, access this things, key ID. So MuleSoft has already given you these parameters. Like suppose for policy, there are few keywords which you can directly access without having to actually type. Like in general Mule application, what we would have done, we would have said vars.keyid. Okay, that's how we're accessing the variable. But actually access it using the triple curly braces. Okay, it directly gives you the this thing. And if you want to access a particular key ID, so this will be giving you a list of key ID pairs. If I'm adding a few more key IDs, okay, something over here and then something over here, like 3, and I'm just adding that as well. So I want to access all of these and I want to perform some check on this key ID key value pair. Like if key value ID, then set variable as this. If this is this thing, perform this logic, something like that. So I need to access the entire, this will become as an array, basically, array of object, okay, in the form of key value pair. And that thing I can actually access. What I want to access, I'm running a for loop. Okay, for loop over this entire key ID thing. So if this thing matches this thing, okay, then in that case, I can say that this is the variable set, this is the final. So this is the logic which I'm adding, the set variable tags and stuff. So this dot value, and then this dot key ID, and this, suppose if I want to access the value, this is something I'm doing for key. So in that case, I'll say this dot value. Okay, And this is something applicable only for key value pair. Similarly, if you want to access some headers and all, then you can also have those curly braces and you can just add those headers and thing. This is something present in the documentation and you can use it. YAML configuration file, and how do we access them? See, key values are complex in this thing. So if you want to access any particular property as a primitive data type, give the property name. So basically from where these names are coming is you have defined over here. So here I've given it as, that's the reason I'm able to access the key ID. If I want to access the scope, I would have said scopes dot something. So they have the primitive parameters which I can access, and these are called as the handlebars. So that's almost done. So
Yeah.
so this is the handlebar thing. So what are basically handlebars is, it's a templating engine basically, which helps you to resolve the semantic logic. Okay, so whatever things we have in the YAML configuration file, this is that thing in the custom policy handlebar thing. Okay, and that is something Moustache I've never used. That is something they call it Moustache. I can show you how it looks like and what is the expression logic. And so these are the Moustaches. I mean, if you go just handlebarjs.com, you like, suppose if there is first name, last name, and this is how it is defined, you're going to access it, first name, then the last. Okay, and as it is like mule defined, we are, I don't know, that is a semantic logic or something we are having. If you will see over here, we are not using triple curly braces for all of them. We're just using it for the mule thing. For key ID I'm using, or for this one. But if I'm defining a for loop, so if you are just going with the, you cannot go ahead and you can drag and drop the, that won't work for you. You will need this if statement. So normally here is something all we have. So if you want to go deep dive into it and you want to see like how it will be executed, how are the iterators and all, for loop basically. So this is how it works. And if you want to have complex programming logic inside your custom policy, you can also add a script tag, or you can use and this type of flow. Okay, if you want to add a if else thing. And here I've used for each and iterating over the list of key IDs. And if that thing matches something, I'll be saying that this is the output, this is the input. And yeah, that's it. That's all about the custom policies. And if you all are having any questions, let me know. I'll stop sharing. I hope it
Yep.
was like,
So guys, if there is anything, please feel free to unmute and ask Akshita before she winds up.
yeah,
I
I'm
don't
done.
see anything in the chats, Akshita. I think if anyone wants to unmute and speak, let them go forward.
Yeah, definitely. You all can like ask question. If not now, you can also ping me over maybe LinkedIn, Twitter,
Yes,
or
yes.
WhatsApp, Telegram group.
Yep. All right. So if
That's it.
no one
Thank you
has
guys.
anything,
Thanks.
yeah, we'll go forward to the trivia quiz. We'll just quickly finish it, guys. So I know it just went a few minutes past the decided time, but we'll just quickly finish the trivia quiz also. I'll just quickly share my screen. So hope the screen is visible to you guys. As we always say, there are a few, this time we're not going to play this on Kahoot or any other platform, but basically we're going to just, I'm going to display the questions and options on the screen. You'll be basically seeing three questions, three different questions on the slides, and you can just basically, put in your options, the correct options, whether it is A, B, C, or D. So the first one who answers right would be, bagging the vouchers. So just to recite it again, we'll be getting vouchers for which we'll be enrolled to the trainings on your choice, whether it is, architecture courses or MCD or anything like that. And towards the completion, successful completion, we'll be given a certification exam. We'll be asked to take a certification exam. And the other conditions are, this is basically, for people who has not got a chance to attempt any certification. So if any of you have won a voucher, or if any of you are certified very recently or won a voucher in the last 30 days or something, please feel free to give others chance, so that, because there are only 3 coupons for each events like this. So just a prerequisite. Yeah. So maybe I'll just draw a separator in the chat section, and I will display the question. So as soon as you see the questions and you can read out the answers, and I'll take, I'll just take the first one for each question. Right. I know it's a tough one because of some time constraints and all, we couldn't set up so many questions. So it's just 3 questions. So basically, the first one who answers right would be selected. So I hope you guys can see the line separator there on the chat. So I'll quickly share. Change my slides and go to the question, the first one. So next page. Okay, here it is. Okay. I think that's, yep. Okay, so the correct answer is C. Let's see who gave it first. It's Sandeep Agarwal. It's custom policies.yaml. Which file is responsible for custom policies configuration UI? It's custom policy.yaml. So I guess it's Sandeep. Yeah. Congrats, Sandeep. Thank you. Thank you, everyone else, for participating. Thank you, guys. So let's go to the next question. Before that, I'll just draw another separator. Sandeep, please feel free to send your mail IDs towards the end of the session. Okay, maybe towards the end, not now, so that we can save space for other answers too. Okay, I'm going to the next question. You can see the next one on the slide now. Which XML element helps us to control the order of execution? So the answer is A, which is HTTP policy execute next, and we can see Rahul Dusaje has given the right answer first. Congrats, Rahul. Congrats everyone else. It's just based on a little bit of timing stuff. I know everyone else is giving the right answers. Seems like everyone was attentive, Akshata. They are all giving the right answers, but we can only select one. So
Yeah, that's fine. We'll have many
yeah.
such opportunities. Not an issue.
Yes. Yeah. Congrats, Rahul. Yep. So let's go to the last and final question of this session. I'll again draw a separator. The last one would be, yep. Okay. So now we got mixed answers. The answer is C, which is handlebars. So it is Durga Shankar Nayak. What is the template engine for resolving the configurable parameters of the policy and implementing semantic logic, etc., such as conditionals? The answer is handlebars. Something that was taken by Akshita towards the end.
Yeah, I'm just sending out the links. Okay, I'm just.
Actually, I have it already. I have a document already. You're talking about the announcements, right?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
prepared.
Oh my god! I think
Okay.
I just prepared it. While you were presenting, I can share it to them. No problem.
Cool.
Yep. So it was Durga. Yeah. Okay, Durga. Congrats everyone else for participating. So Durga and the other ones that I mentioned, Durga and who else was it? It was Sandeep and Durga, Sandeep, and I think I missed them. Just a moment. The second question was A. A was the answer, right? Just a moment. It's Rahul. Yeah, Durga, Sandeep, and Rahul. It's not Bhupendra. It's Rahul. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Durga, Sandeep, and Rahul. Please, you guys can just leave your mail IDs and the chats. I'll get back to you at the earliest with the other procedures of enrolling into this.
Maybe we
So
can just turn on the cameras and take some screenshots as well.
yes. Those who feel free, please feel free to on your camera. But I'm not in a situation to on my camera, so I'll be refraining from that. But others,
That's
just please. I know it's a bad example, but please spare me for this time. So others, if you feel free, please switch on your camera and
And
have a
you all
start.
will be getting a feedback form as well. Let us know like how it
Yeah.
works and
Yes.
how we can
Definitely.
improve it out.
Yeah, so please feel free to, you'll be getting a mail towards the end post survey, so post event survey. So just feel free to give your feedbacks because it fuels our meetup groups. So, and also just come up with other suggestions, whether you want good topics and other things like that. Feel free to do that. Does anyone want to switch on your cameras?
Okay.
Seems
That's
like no
okay, I
one wants
guess.
to.
I mean,
Maybe everyone is in a
they're
weekend
in
mode, actually, probably. That's why.
weekend mode, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Sandeep is very happy. Hello,
Hi,
Sandeep.
Sandeep.
Hi. Maybe that's fine. I guess I think there is only you and Sandeep, but we'll anyway
Yeah,
take a
that's okay.
picture. It's fine. Yeah.
Oh,
We
hi,
have
Fatima.
Fatima also. Sure. We'll take a snack, right? We'll just go forward. Yeah. Okay, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'll
thank you guys.
send it out to you as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank
You
you,
can
everyone. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. It's really appreciated. So, just
yeah,
again, just like what
long
Akshara
weekend
said,
session.
yeah, long weekend session, but still, it was worthwhile. I'm sure about it. Yeah. So anyway, mostly like people are in a weekend mode, just like I said. That's why it's maybe that's the reason. Maybe Akshara, you must be finding this must be the most less interactive thing you saw.
No,
Maybe
it's
I don't
it's
know.
okay. It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining once again. Thank you again, Akshata, for spending
Thanks.
your time.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.